Hi YouTube, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I want to go ahead and discuss work mobbing. So what is work mobbing? So work mobbing is when a group of people in the workplace environment, they all gang up on just one person, the target, that they are going to harass, humiliate, terrorize, emotionally abuse, emotionally manipulate, and isolate. Workplace mobbing is very detrimental to the target's mental health, physical well-being, and it even impacts negatively their personal life outside of work. It takes a tremendous toll on their emotional wellness. So workplace mobbing, it is not often done because of that person's poor work ethic or because they're doing something wrong during work. No. In most cases, the real reason why that person is being targeted to begin with, it's because that person is the most productive, most innovative, is very work-driven and dedicated to doing their work, and they actually exceed the expectations. And they are highly skilled and highly talented and intelligent. This is why many of people in the workplace are being targeted to begin with. It mainly has to do because the people in the higher positions are narcissists, or there are several narcissists in the workplace who feel very jealous towards that person. Or it can also be in respect to that person's personality traits. So they have really highly likable personality qualities about themselves. They can be empathetic, compassionate, caring, very altruistic, very positive. They have a very uplifting spirit, and so other people find it threatening. Also, as a chosen one, their energy is very powerful and they have a strong presence whenever they walk into that workplace, and people feel intimidated and jealous because that person has something that they wish to have and emulate themselves. So there's going to be rivalry in that workplace. Or a narcissist in the workplace can also just be jealous on a superficial level. Maybe they feel that that person is more attractive than them, has a better clothing style than them, has high confidence, and is more attractive than them. So automatically they feel incompetent and they want to compete with that person because they're secretly jealous of what that person has that they don't have. And it doesn't even matter what job position they're in and which title they have and their leadership position. They feel very inadequate when they're around that person. So why do people mob? The motives of the mobbers overlap with those of bullies. Those who mob often feel secretly inadequate and threatened by those who are more competent and creative, or they may be aware on some level that they have benefited from targeting them and putting other people against each other, and are determined to hold on to their privilege, however unjustified. They may be terrified of change and feel that their very survival hinges of the maintenance of their status quo. They may believe they are waging a righteous war against evil influences. In their mind, they perceived threat justifies any action or behavior, any accusation to undermine the targeted person, even blatant lies, gross exaggeration, or patent injustices. What happens in a mobbing? Some common mobbing actions include ignoring people's work and giving credit to the targeted person who deserves the credit. So they'll, instead of giving recognition and actually complimenting the targeted person's work ethic, they're going to focus on the other employees who aren't even doing as much as the targeted individual is doing, and compliment them and tell them how good of a job they're doing, and ignore and discredit the targeted person who is doing a lot and is exceeding the expectations, and make it feel that they're not doing enough, that they have to continue to do more and more. So they're going to ignore that person's work performance and give credit to the other people who are doing a lot less than them. They're going to discredit their work and magnify on minor mistakes. So you make one tiny mistake while you're working, and the people, the supervisors who are in charge, they're going to be micromanaging you. So watching you with a very vigilant, with very observing you, monitoring you, and they're going to watch you very closely to make sure that you don't make a mistake, and even watch and wait for you to make a mistake so they can use that moment to exaggerate and blow things out of proportion and make you feel very guilty and bad about yourself for making a minor mistake while you were working. And this will also give them leverage to justify why they're isolating you and harassing you because of that mistake. They're going to hold that tiny minor mistake that you made against you to justify their bad behavior towards you in that workplace. They're going to taking away their responsibilities. So this happens when everyone in the workplace, the whole entire group, the person who is in a higher position has influence, or they may fear that person who has great influence, the narcissist. So that narcissist will influence and start the smear campaign and carry out a bunch of malicious lies, even talk about that person's personal life, personal information, and add a bunch of lies to it, malicious lies, and exaggerate it to make it look like that person is very evil and very hostile and aggressive and does a horrible job at their work, when in reality it's a bunch of blatant lies just to justify and excuse the reason why they're targeting that person, the real reason, out of jealousy, because that person is stealing their narcissistic supply. And so a narcissist is desperate for their narcissistic supply, and they always need to be first. Narcissist needs to be on top at all times, and everyone else in the job has to fall behind the narcissist and last, especially if they're a threat. They're going to work very hard to make sure that that person is at the end of the line. What also happens in workplace mobbing is that they're left out of important meetings, events. They're not being informed of anything that is going on in the workplace, any up-to-date emails, or any gatherings that they get together. The targeted person is excluded, socially excluded, from being a part and partaking in what's going on in the workplace. And this is all done intentionally to make that person feel unimportant, to lower their self-esteem and their confidence, and to somehow make them feel that they're less than deserving than everyone else, that everyone else is somehow better than them, and they are the scapegoat, so they don't deserve to have the same respect and the same rights as every other person in that workplace. The people who start the workplace mobbing, the leaders, the main people who are threatened and very jealous of that targeted person, they're going to spread vicious lies and rumors about the target, their personal and their professional lives. So they'll just create a smear campaign. A smear campaign is when they exaggerate and they add a bunch of lies. They even add stuff that they did to you, the target, in the workplace. They'll add whatever they do to you, the way that they're treating you. They're going to project it on your reputation and on your character. They're going to assassinate your character and make it feel that you're this very abusive, horrible, bad person. And they're going to carry all that information to every single person that works there, anyone who will listen. And a lot of people will go against that target and monitor them and watch them because somehow they see them as a threat, a bad person, because their reputation has been tarnished. And now they do look like they're the perpetrator in that workplace. And the other people who are causing all this chaos, they all look like they're the victims. So what is going on here is a lot of gaslighting, a lot of projection, a lot of denial. They'll deny however the targeted person feels. When the targeted person finally has the courage and finally has enough of the emotional abuse and manipulation and finally speaks up about what is going on and says, I feel that I'm being targeted, I feel that that workplace mobbing is occurring and each person is going against me, they'll be gaslighted because they protect each other. The targeted person will be gaslighted and they'll purposely make the target feel that they're a problematic and a difficult person because they're just not complying and they're not settling for their role in that workplace, which is being the scapegoat. And so they'll make it feel that whatever they're experiencing isn't really going on and that the target person is interpreting the whole situation incorrectly, that it's not as they perceive it to be, that their perception isn't accurate, that that person is really a good person, and that they don't really mean to do that to harm the target. But in reality, what is really going on is the target is really seeing and expressing how they feel because of the injustices and the emotional abuse and the harassment that is taking place. But it's done very covertly. It's done very covertly on a psychological level. And God is with the targeted person at every time, protecting them. Because what is going on is a spiritual battle between the narcissist and the target. They're trying to break the target's spirit down over time. And it's a pattern that is constantly done. The pattern continues, the whole hot and cold where they all of a sudden, the people there at the workplace begin to be nice to the target. And then they pull away the attention and the energy that they give them. And then they go back to pretending that target doesn't exist and that they're unimportant. This is all a pattern of behavior that is going on in that workplace because of the narcissist that is manipulating and brainwashing and controlling and influencing the other people in the workplace to comply, to also participate in targeting that person. And sometimes the people who participate in targeting that person, they may not even agree with everything that the narcissist says, but they fear that if they speak up and they say that what they're doing is wrong, that they're going to end up being the one who is targeted, or they're going to also lose their job, which puts them at risk. So every single person in that workplace environment listens and obeys what is being told because that person has great influence to manipulate the situation. Or it can also be they also participate because they themselves are also jealous of the targeted person and they were looking for a way to be against that person. So having that higher person in a higher position influence them, they gain more control, an illusion of power that they really want. They give them undeserved and poor evaluations on purpose. Or they may even threaten the target, threaten to do something to them if they speak up. And so they try to silence that target in the workplace. But everything is done, the whole humiliation, the harassment, the isolation, the terrorization, when the supervisor finally speaks to the targeted individual and tells them what they have to do, the tone of the voice that they use is very aggressive and very dominant to terrorize that person so they can be on their best behavior, so they're easily manipulated. And if that person speaks up or defends themselves, then what's going to happen is that targeted person in that workplace is going to be given the silent treatment. Each and every person is going to stonewall the target by cutting all forms of communication off, by pretending that that person doesn't exist. Whenever that person arrives, they're going to pretend that that person is not even there. Whenever the targeted person says hi, they're going to ignore purposely that that person even said a word. This is all emotional abuse. And it's a spiritual battle in that workplace. It's against good and evil. So what ends up happening is that they're trying to push that person out of the workplace by systematically abusing them each and every single day that they go in for work. But they're not going to fire that person. They're going to wait until that person finally has had enough of the abuse and of the psychological manipulation that they're experiencing, until that person finally breaks that point where they're just done with everything that is going on. Because it really does take a lot of their energy away when they experience workplace mobbing. All because of something petty, because the targeted person finally spoke up. And now each person has to fight back to gain that power that they have. And they'll never accept, the people who do these things will never accept that they're in the wrong, will never accept their shortcomings, will never accept that what they're doing is wrong. Instead, they will just put all the blame and shame that person and make the targeted person feel guilty for a false illusion of just not taking on that role that they were given in that workplace. So let's revert back to the smear campaign. So the people who are in charge, they will all gather together to negatively trash the target's name and their reputation. And even in the workplace, they may get together and start chatting about the targeted person and send subliminal messages to the targeted person by giving them stares, by looking at them when they're speaking, covertly abusing them. Like a covert narcissist usually abuses their victim in a way that it's very difficult to prove, but it is taking place in the workplace. So their reputation has been tarnished, and every single person in that workplace monitors, and they even walk around near the targeted person and just watch them, ask them questions to gather information about them so they can have more information to use against that targeted person in that workplace. So this is all stalking as well, because the people that work there are also participating in stalking the target by keeping an eye on them and by harassing them and abusing them. This is harassment at its highest, because they're really psychologically breaking down that person's self-esteem, their worth, and playing on their emotions and manipulating them emotionally, and grooming them, and playing this hot and cold game with them, where all of a sudden they're nice because the narcissist needs something from them, but then they pull away the attention and everything, and they make that person feel that they did something wrong, or something went wrong, or they must have not done something right, and they're walking on eggshells every time they walk into that workplace. They're walking on eggshells because they don't know exactly what could happen at any moment. And it takes a toll. People who go through this experience a very heightened level of anxiety, depression, and it really messes up with their personal life, because dealing with so much in the workplace affects their personal life and their energy, and they have to go again the next day into that workplace and go through the same exact cycle and the same pattern of being harassed, of being isolated, of being terrorized, and scared of the retaliation that could happen, just because they feel threatened by this person. This is all done because of that. Or even in several instances, each person is given something nice, like a present or food or something, and the targeted individual is socially excluded and is not giving anything. So they're really making that person feel that they just don't belong there, that they should just leave, that they have no place in that workplace, that they don't deserve the same rights, anything. It's really bad. It's a really messed up and sick situation to be in, all because of the narcissists that are in charge of that workplace. So workplace mobbing is not something that is just bullying. No, it's like gang stalking with harassment, with work mobbing. And it really does not get any better with time. It tends to get worse with time. So some of the mobbing tactics that take place is verbal aggression. Workplace bullies, they often resort to being verbally aggressive towards the target. The aggression can take place from an unpleasant tone when speaking to the victim. In addition, the target may also be subjected to insults or sarcastic remarks. And the next one is stonewalling. Victims of mobbing may find that their suggestions, projects, and initiatives are being ignored by coworkers and supervisors. Their requests for feedback and updates or support often goes unanswered. They're also being excluded. Mobbing targets often are excluded and even isolated in the workplace. Exclusion can be accidentally leaving the victim off the chain of emails, failing to invite the target to important meetings, and refusing to socialize with the target, both in and outside the workplace. Sometimes the target of mobbing may even find themselves physically excluded in the workplace by having their desk or office relocated to an area far away from other team members. Then they also go through gossip and slander. Mobbing ringleaders and their supporters may initiate malicious gossip designed to humiliate and undermine the victim. Sometimes the gossip is pure slander. In others, the gossip reveals personal information about the target that may be embarrassed, but it has nothing to do with the victim's professional competency. In extreme cases, these campaigns may exceed outside the office and into industry or professional in which the victim works. So why does mobbing happen? Professional jealousy. So coworkers or supervisors choose mobbing targets because of their professional jealousy. The target is highly competent and may even be considered more skilled, attractive, and productive than the other coworkers. It also happens because they're trying to push out that person to leave that job. So they need to find ways to get rid of that person by psychologically abusing them. So they finally take the initiative to resign and leave that workplace. So with that being said, anyone who has experienced workplace mobbing, my condolences go to you, because I understand and I know what it feels like to experience workplace mobbing. It's very insidious, it's very tormenting, and it's very, very disturbing to have a group of people go against you and make you feel that you should feel like you are less than each person there and that you don't belong there. All because of the narcissists that want to try to sabotage you because they're jealous and they're very competitive and they can't stand the greatness within you that outshines them. And so since they have always had that position of power in that workplace, you step into that workplace and you automatically become the threat because they are very insecure and they can't stand seeing someone with such high value have certain personality traits and qualities about yourself, and the way that you carry yourself and the way you treat other people. They need to try to tarnish that because you are receiving more narcissistic supply in that workplace than them. And they can't tolerate that. They will not put up with anyone taking away their narcissistic supply. So understand that it had nothing to do with you. You did not deserve to go through that type of abuse. Please, if you're going through it, please stay strong. Please do not personalize what they do to you, because something is wrong with them for being abusive towards you. And stay strong and stay resilient and keep God always with you. God is always with you at all times. He's aware of what those people in your workplace do to you, and He will handle them, so don't worry. Thank you so much for watching my video. Continue to be yourselves and continue to share that beautiful light with the world. Bye.